Kia ora koutou, thank you for joining us on this Zui. E ngā mana, e ngā reo, rau rangatira. Tēnā koutou katoa. Hei karakia, he tīmatanga te tātou. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kina kina kia uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. E hi, aki ana, tia tākura, he tio, he huka, he hauhonga. Tūtaru whakamaua kia tīna. Tīna. Haumie, huie, taiki. Nō reira, kia koutou, ko tai mai, nau mai, hare mai, ki tēnei whakaturanga. Ko te wāwata, he kai ma tauranga tēnei mau. Te manu ka kai te mero, nōna te ngāhere. Te manu ka kai e te matauranga, nōna te au. Tihei moriora. Nō reira he mihi, ko taupiri te maunga, ko Waikato te awa, ko Whenua te roto, no ko Wairanga Airangi te kiwi, no Rahui Pōkeka ahu, ko Toitu te whenua ahu e mahi ana, ko Tuain Wilkins tōku ingoa. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Nau mai haere mai, and welcome to this lunchtime wānanga, part of the Ngā Poutama Mata Whenua webinar series, specifically tailored for those working with Iwi Māori, and Māori trusts, communities, and conservation groups. I'll be facilitator for today, Dwayne, and joined here by Roland Pomana, who those of you who have joined us over the last couple of years, Roland was pretty much there every week and fortnight for at least 2 years, if not before that, longer than that. So kia ora, Roland, welcome, and great to have you back with us. I'll hand over to you for a second.
Kia ora, Dwayne. Thank you for the intro. Kia ora, everybody. If you don't know me, yeah, I've been around for a while, and it's great to be back here at Ngā Poutama Mata Whenua. This started, I think it was, during lockdown with COVID. And we kicked off, and Dwayne convinced me to come along for a guest appearance on the first ever Ngā Poutama Mata Whenua, and I was there for, I think, 2 years. So, but due to circumstances, I'm a bit busy now, and we'll get into that a bit soon. But it's great to be back and see everybody here. I'm just looking at the list of names there, and there's a few familiar names. Good to see everybody around. Kia ora, Richard. Kia ora, Dean. Been a long time since I've seen Dean Walker. Jeff, thank you for giving me the chance to speak. And nice to meet Tania Tehira. It's great to see you and great to be here with everybody. Dwayne, I'll hand back to you if you give an outline of what we're going to get up to today, because we'll jump backwards and forwards and hopefully cover off a lot of stuff that everybody's looking forward to.
Kia ora, Roland. So today we're going to be looking at a couple of very interesting things that we've actually looked at a few times on these wānanga series, but not really delved into as much as we would have liked. And the couple of key things for me, first of all, the Living Atlas of the world and the Aotearoa datasets in there. So Roland will be taking us through that, some of the real cool whiz-bang stuff that you may have seen over the last couple of years. Particularly some of the data, some of the rehosted data sets that come from and where they come from. And also, Roland will be having a kōrero about the non-for-profit Esri ArcGIS software licensing, so how to get access to the full toolset for your non-profit or trust or NGO. Also, we'll be looking at the Indigenous stream as part of the New Zealand Esri ArcGIS Users Conference in September. And I'll be chipping in there with any questions. So if you have questions, please put them into the chat. Just remember to mute your mic unless you're actively asking a question, which will probably just pause for the end. But feel free to put any chats in the messages in the chat, and we'll address those as we go. And so, yeah, going to hand back over to you, Roland, to share your screen and kick us off.
Cool, awesome. Okay, first of all, I want to talk about, and hopefully you see the ArcGIS Living Atlas of the world. Esri's ArcGIS Living Atlas. Can you just confirm you can see that, Dwight?
Yep, good as.
Yep. Cool. All right. Actually, if you've never been there before, it is just livingatlas.arcgis.com. If you Google search the Living Atlas, you will definitely find this page here. ArcGIS Living Atlas of the world is the foremost collection of geographic information from around the globe. It includes maps, apps, and data layers to support your work. Which is like, it's a pretty cool way to describe it. But there's a guy, John Nelson, who works at Esri, and if you've ever seen the John Nelson YouTube channel, and there'll be a link in a document Dwayne's about to share with you all to John Nelson's YouTube channel, he described the Living Atlas as an intergalactic sentient digital entity that benevolently accepts and distributes maps and map data to the eager masses. And that's kind of a nicer way to describe it, like the way John described it. So it is, that's exactly, it's a hosting platform put up by Esri that shares maps, layers, and also apps. So if you go here, we can browse the Living Atlas quite simply from the homepage. And I'm not signed into anything. You can hop in here and just have a look at some of the stuff. And as you can see, there's loads and loads of stuff. But it's really easy to filter stuff and to have a look at things that sort of relate to us. So one of the best things is, the first thing I usually do is just change the region to New Zealand and see what's there and relevant to New Zealand. Of course, you don't have to. If you're interested in global stuff, that's fine. And then I can look at all content types. So there's 12 maps related to New Zealand, 161 layers, some story maps, and some tools. Or you can say, right, rather than just scrolling through all that stuff, I can jump to things that interest me, like layers about the environment. So if I went elevation and bathymetry, and I filtered for New Zealand, we can see things like the New Zealand elevation layer, some services being pushed up by either Eagle Technology Limited or by Whenua. If we went to other things like boundaries and administrative boundaries for New Zealand, you can see a feature service by TPK being hosted by Aotearoa, other services by Eagle GIS, and of course administrative boundaries, as we expect to find things like the LIN's primary parcels, mesh block boundaries, and so on, territorial authority boundaries, everything you can think of. So it's a really easy to use interface to just try and find some data. And what we really need, actually what we need in this whole thing, is for you guys to be a bit more interactive. So if you've got a data set that you're interested in, if we want to, did you have a topic for today, Dwayne?
I've got a 3D interactive that we'll show after, and how to build that using this data. But yeah, I guess
actually we'll go 3D. So if we look at, yeah, if I turn that New Zealand thing off, and if I'll just go back, I've got something turned on here. You'll notice up the top here, when I first went, if I went home to ArcGIS Living Atlas of the world, as soon as I add region, it becomes the New Zealand edition. So we get this nice little thing up the top. Content types, story maps, layers. So you can do it that way, or you can look at specific, I want to look at base maps for New Zealand, or boundaries, imagery that's available in New Zealand that's hosted. And this is not the only stuff hosted in ArcGIS Online. This is just in the Living Atlas. There's a really cool video by John Nelson, and there's going to be a link to it in the document that Dwayne shares with you all shortly, that shows you how to actually nominate your stuff to be published in the Living Atlas. Another really important thing, if you're looking for data, is you can tick this little box here, which says authoritative only content. So this is authorized content. Stuff that's been agreed to by Esri is the authoritative source for this type of data set. So if I went back to elevation and bathymetry, authoritative only, we can see these are the New Zealand authoritative data sets, most of them being done either by Eagle, or there's the bathymetry layer, and the authoritative owner of that is Whenua. Now, there was something that I was really interested in, and I think it was Earth observations. And I've got Earth observations for New Zealand, but there's a live stream gauge, which is by Esri live feed. So Esri are actually managing this. The reason it shows up in New Zealand is if I click on this and we open up the tab to view the item details, and if I scroll down here, you can see that Horizons Regional Council actually have a live feed of their stream data into, and so Esri have picked it up and are publishing that globally, which is really, really cool. So it's one of the few things we're pushing out from New Zealand here, or Horizons Regional Council are, that's actually going out globally. And other people mightn't be interested in data from New Zealand, but that's going straight into the live stream gauges. So you can see Horizon Regional Council streams right alongside everybody else. So the Living Atlas, it's an amazing resource of data. If you want authoritative data, or you say, I just want it from people like Esri. And so we can see the Esri feeds. So Esri is republishing things like New Zealand regional boundaries and so on. What else is in?
Arte for you. Where do they get that data from?
Do Esri get it? Or
yeah.
So all of this is being rehosted or redistributed by Esri through the Living Atlas. So that Horizons Regional Council data is probably actually stored on the Horizons Regional Council servers and just being shared as a layer into what Esri is repackaging as a live stream feed. So all of the data is still being hosted locally and then republished either through their existing ArcGIS Online account or off their enterprise server directly to Esri.
So how often does it get updated?
I'm actually not sure. Let's go and have a look at that.
In terms of the stream stuff, is that live? But the others would have some kind of update cycle, I assume, like the LINS data, for example.
So item updated March 23, 2023. So it's obviously not as live as we think, but that'll just be the data.
The data is live.
Data itself. So if we jump in and have a look at it.
Like it's right now, 10 minutes or something.
$10:30 a.m. So yeah, it's either might be an hourly refresh. It'll depend on the type of setup that Horizons Regional Councils have actually decided. But it's really interesting to see that being fed live the same time into a data set that's a global data set. Wow, I say global, but there's only a few organisations in the UK, in Europe, Aussie, New Zealand that are actually feeding that. But a really good way for them to share their data. And you can probably find that on opendata.gov or on the Horizons Regional Council GIS portal itself. But Living Atlas is that it's a global, it's the Living Atlas of the world. So we're trying to have as much global coverage as we can. If I go back home on the Living Atlas, and because you said 3D, Drayton, and feel free to chuck that web address or Google Living Atlas and then jump into this webpage.
They're all in the chat and the documents. Hey, we do have one question for you as we go at some point, or I can cover it at the end as well, on health data sets and population data. I know there's a good...
Oh, there is some good population data. Let's go back to that then before we jump into 3D. So if we talk about people, and I'll do that first thing again, let's talk about New Zealand. So we go to the New Zealand edition. And if we talk about population. So this is a really easy way to find the New Zealand census data, whether being published by Eagle or by Esri. But if I talk about housing. So Eagle is rehosting on behalf of Stats NZ. So the original data would have come from Statistics New Zealand. And if we click on Statistical Area 2, I'm sure we all got used to seeing this data set.
This one took a hammering in COVID. I was using it in COVID response.
Yeah, so we should get a view count, 11,758. And that's just the view count for this thing. So we can hop into the map viewer. And just remember, so I haven't signed into anything here. If you look in the top right-hand corner of my screen, I'm not signed in. So you can get in through the Living Atlas and just view stuff, have a sneaky look at what's in behind the data, so you can click on features and see what's in the attribute table, and whether or not there's stuff that's worthwhile for you.
There's
So,
Māori population in there. There's Pacific income. Oh, deprivation as well. Deprivation, which is a kind of a combination.
So there's, and I think it's age group as well. So there's a ton of data. Dwayne used to work for Stats NZ. We still do. Oh, what's that turned off?
This data set is, I think you've got to zoom in maybe for it to come on or something.
Yeah.
It's really good starter pack. It's like everything you're likely to need for 90% of what you might want to do. Then what I'll do is I'll add into my demo where you can add additional, more detailed. So there's many hundreds. There's, I don't know, what would there be there? 100 fields, but there's many more hundreds of fields that you can access as well. But this, I really like this one because it's all just ready to use, packaged up. Has good naming on the attribute table there on the left-hand side, those column, those field headings, as well as really useful data. And of course, it's all private, anonymous.
Yeah, so it's all scaled to that you can't physically identify anybody. If a number is 1, I don't think it's allowed to be shown in here. But yeah, the type of stuff in here, from dwelling fuel type to electricity to refrigerator, number of bedrooms on average in that statistical area, and that it's a fantastic data set. Now, the upside about the ArcGIS Living Atlas and being able to publish stuff into it is, as we can see here, there's a ton of metadata. So there's some rules around publishing, and there's a link to that document that Dwayne's going to share. And John Nelson goes on about how you have to basically reach a score of 100 points to be able to publish stuff into the Living Atlas. So it's a good way to manage the stuff that's in here. There's somebody made a comment there, and I think we all know who that was 3 years ago. They must have been using it a lot during COVID. But yeah, so people are forced to fill out the metadata. So there's really good metadata in behind this, and a real detailed understanding around what's there. You can hop into the table and have a look at that if you want to, or you can jump in, and see how the fields are made up. And in this one, there is a ton of them, and so on. So the Living Atlas, so again, I just like pointing out, I can get there and discover a lot about a data set without having to sign into any software or even have an Esri account. Although it's all ArcGIS Online hosted, and you need an ArcGIS Online account to use the data for anything else, for any manipulation, you can get in here and see a ton of stuff. So around people, turn population off and turn health on, because health was the question. And we don't have anything, which is not cool. Education, we should have something. I know that Claire and the team at Eagle, so the schools directory, early childhood services, at risk, and so on. So you can get across this and look for just about anything you want. New and noteworthy. Is there anything new and noteworthy in the New Zealand tab? If I turn New Zealand off, though, there's probably some new and noteworthy stuff. Sentinel-2 imagery. But right now, I just want to jump back to home. And because Dwayne mentioned 3D, if you're on the homepage with me, there's a tutorial here on how to create a rotating globe. And as you can see, there's all the steps, and you can do this in your own time, on how to build these really cool rotating globes. And I'm dying to show you one, because there's a couple of that really piqued my interest. And one of them was these vintage globes. And I think it was this one, the 1812 viewer. And so I can jump in and view this, and hopefully this loads relatively quickly. And then I get a really cool rotating globe. I'll just click play again and get it rotating. I can click and hold and drag it to the angle I want the wheel to rotate at. That's probably an angle that suits us a bit better. Or I can just zoom in on this globe. And some of them are really, really neat. But some of the other ones, it's that one if I jump back, are really nice as well. So there's a terrestrial ecosystems globe in that. And so they're using, sometimes these globes are being used with those data sets out of the Living Atlas that are live or more updated. There's an imagery globe, world cover, but we'll jump into the terrestrial ecosystems one. This might take a little bit longer to load. No, probably will. And we can see the world, and it's not going to load. But I guess you get the general idea. Probably got too much open now and starting to affect my ability to share on my screen. So that's kind of ArcGIS Living Atlas. Everything's there. There's some really cool reading as well. What I wanted to show though was we have tools. And if I make this New Zealand, there's some deep learning packages that have been shared and developed by Eagle in association with other groups. Solar panel and swimming pool, I think, was done with Christchurch Council. But there's deep learning packages also available. Whenua did a solar panel detection model. So it's not just maps and layers.
Tell us a bit more about what's this deep learning thing, Roland?
Oh, you can talk about that, Dwayne. So deep learning or machine learning. So basically training your ArcGIS software to recognize certain things. So they'll run things like, and if we look at solar panels, run imagery through a machine, basically teaching it to recognize this is what a solar panel looks like, and then develop a tool that you just run over some imagery and it will tell you that these are all solar panels, or what I think are solar panels. So these models are also being published to the Living Atlas, and you can download that model and use it inside ArcGIS Pro. So rather than thinking of Living Atlas of it's just layers and maps that are available, there's also tools being shared now. And again, you can filter those tools by whatever you want. If I turn New Zealand off, and I just have tools for all over the place. So if I was interested in health, I picked the wrong one. Population, there's no tools for that. I know there's a ton of environmental ones. If I took it, weather and climate, wind turbine detection, which was a deep learning package done by Esri. If I look at Earth observations, we should get land color classification using Sentinel-2 imagery or the Landsat stuff. And there's deep learning packages that you can use over that. So if you know that somebody's got a layer for land cover and they derive their layer from Sentinel-2, but there's not a layer to covering the area of interest that you're interested in, you can actually download the deep learning package and do it yourself. So it's becoming more and more common now to share tools inside the Living Atlas, as well as just your data set. But by all means, there's a blog. There's a ton of stuff to read on here. So wildfire aware, there is a heap of live view maps also available that you can get to. But please spend some time in the Living Atlas, jump in, have a play, have a look. It's a fantastic resource and we're incredibly lucky to have access to it. That signed me in, I'm going to sign out. Dwayne, I'll hand back to you, and I know you want to, I'll stop sharing because I know you want to actually do some live demos. of putting that into a workable example.
So let me just check this works in this browser. That's going good. Okay, on the chat, I'm just going to share a link to a 3D viewer, because what I like to do is show you what we're going to do, or something of what we could end up with. And now I'm just going to share my screen. So feel free to click on that link in the chat. And okay. Let's see. Window, entire screen. Okay. I'll just move thumbs over there. Now, Roland, can you see the Ngāpuatama Whenua page? Is that coming up?
Yep, perfect.
Oh, sweet. Okay, so now you can see the 3D one?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Always that panic that you're sharing the right screen.
Yeah, because it has no line or nothing. So so all of the data sets that Roland has just shown us, this has taken some people, hundreds of hours to pull together and prepare, document, and capture. So I'm always looking for ways of how we can use that for our own purposes. So let's say in this example, I've got a series of layers here. So one of them is marae that you saw in the atlas that Roland demoed. I've also added in some data from LINs, some lakes, coastlines, Crown managed property, the awa. So awa is made up of polygons and lines. So where there's large areas, they're polygons or areas, and where there are just small streams, they're shown as lines. Also things like the named rivers. So awa are kind of an unusual data set in Aotearoa because there are 3 or 4 different data sets depending on how and what you want to do. So if you want to do modeling, you will use one set. If you want to do just a cartographic or representation, you might use another. And I've also just added in the census 2018 that Roland was just showing. And so what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you what this is, and then we're going to create one. So what I've done is I've added some layers, and you can see I've turned some layers on, and then I've added a bookmark. And so what this means I can do is I can use this, or you could use this for something like a mōtetea or for flyover, and you can either record the screen from this, or you can just share this with friends and whānau. So this is publicly shared, so you can access it. And this is just using those data sets out of the Living Atlas as an example. So there's a couple of key data sets in here. One that I've used is in the ground, which is called New Zealand Elevation. So the government's invested about $40 million, I think, for LiDAR and go in partnerships with councils and others. And so this elevation data, if we come and have a look over here, this is at 1 meter resolution. So when you drape imagery over it, you can almost get down to the scale of being able to identify historical pā and things on maunga, as well as other interesting features. So that's based on LiDAR, but we use that to pop up in 3D. So you can see on the flat area, there's not too much. So over here, if you go over here and press this little slide manager button, I've just put some examples in here, sort of, I think I did some in Far North, some near Gisborne. What have we got here? And so you can go from place to place to place, and these are just bookmarks. So I'm going to leave that one and create a new, remember how to create a new one, create a new scene. I think probably, if I can make a new one from here, but here we go, up here. new scene. So I'm going to go new local scene. So this is just showing you how to create this for yourself. Roland, could you have a look and see if you can somehow go save as of that one that I've shared on the chat? You may have to take off the first bit, the mapguider.maps, to get to arcgis.com, and then you can maybe save as. So here I've got a blank, empty viewer, just topographic background. So then how do I access the data from the Living Atlas that Roland's been showing us? I go browse layers, and then I go add content. Now this is using what I'm showing you here. You can do, anyone can do this, and for free. It's using the ArcGIS Online 3D viewer called a scene, new scene, and you don't have to have a paid account for this at all. So I'm going to go here to Living Atlas. I can add content from mine, from groups that I might be part of. If I'm within an organization, like if I've got a trust and I've got 3 or 4 different users, then I might have some data between us. Living Atlas, which is the curated data set we just saw, and then ArcGIS Online, which is everything anyone, people like me, share in public. And of course, other organizations. Like Tahu, for example, they've got some data shared in there. So if I go, oops, I clicked the wrong one. If I go here and I look for marae, just an easy first one. Marae of Aotearoa. Add that in there. It's added, and here we go. We've got some points. So in the map that I've shown you, I've gone and found a custom icon, marae icon, and I just like this little 3D one here. So I go and grab it, and what I'm looking for is a PNG icon, but you can use any one. You can even create your own, use your own if you've got rangatahi keen on drawing, get them to create one. So this one, you're looking for an image like this that is a PNG. PNG means that you have this transparent background. So if I go on this one, as an example, and I can see there that there is no little lattice like a chessboard. So I know, okay, this one's going to work fine for what I want. If I go, what I've just got to figure out here, open image in new tab. So this is what I'm after, marae.png. And I'm just going to pop that in the chat, so if anybody wants to swipe that too. So what I can then do is go into my layer here, and I can go 2D marker. Okay, I'm going to go 2D marker here. My marker, instead of that little orange dot, I can choose any of these different icons that are provided, but none of these are particularly, they don't have a Te Ao Māori kind of theme to them. So I'm going to, it says, please save the scene to allow upload of custom icons. Okay, so I'm just going to go save. Save. So now I've saved it. And now I can go custom and I can go upload image. Okay, so I can go save as, just add that in my downloads and upload this image. And I go to my downloads and I go, where the heck is it? Here it is. And you see there's another one there I've found, some others that I found, but this is the one I'm after. And so then I go done. So there I have my own little custom icon for all of the marae, and I can change the size depending on how I'm going to do this map. And then I can also add labels if I want. And so this data is coming straight from Te Puna Kokiri, from their ArcGIS Online account, and it's just re-linked through the Living Atlas. So if I go large labels, and I want these to be light and declutter, so that means it kind of makes it look simpler. So now I've got all my marae there, and I want to change the base map. So I want to go, instead of that, I want to go imagery hybrid. So first one to tell me marae on the chat, we'll go and have a look at that one. Give me the name of our marae whānau. Waiting. Let's go. Come on. Here we go.
Raukawa.
Raukawa, first in. Okay. Raukawa. Okay, looks like we're going. Here we go. Raukawa marae. Is that the right one? What areas of Raukawa marae? Caleb? Hopefully that might be one. There's probably more than one.
Well, that's the right one.
Oh, sweet. Cool. So here we go. If we zoom in, we can see from the background imagery, here's the marae. Now, if we click on that icon, we can also get information about this feature as well. And that's coming straight from Te Puni Kōkiri. So that's just an example of adding one of those data sets in and making it your own, making it look like how you want without having to capture data or anything like that. Now, let's say I want to have a look at that. And I know there's some topography in here, particularly around this awa, that you can see here. It's okay, but it's not, it's a bit smooth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at how do I take the elevation data, all that LiDAR from LINS, which is absolutely massive. And I know I've downloaded it once, and I won't do that again. And it was something like 200 gigabytes. And it took me about 2 days to stitch it all back together. And then, this is my weekends, I have no life. And then just to use it locally. If I wanted to try and host it online, it's just, forget it. So if I go into Living Atlas again, and I know the name of this one is called NZ Elevation, and actually Roland introduced me to this one about 2 years ago. So there's a trick with this. It's in the base, so we're not going to see this layer, but it is going to affect the landscape. So if I go add, it's going to go create new scene. Did I not create a new scene? Did I create a is this a
local scene?
It is a local scene. Maybe I had to do this first. Let's see.
Yeah, create a local scene with the elevation data because it's in NZTM.
Yeah. So let's see. Add to scene. All right. I've done it in the other one, the one that I shared with you. Okay. Let's, for the sake of expediency, let's imagine that this has got very detailed topography now. If you have a look at the comparison between this scene and say, see that terrace along here on the maunga? If you have a look in that first one that I shared, you'll see there's actually some contours and topography in that one. And that's because it's taken from very, very high detailed elevation data from aircraft with lasers and LiDAR and other stuff. But imagine that we've set that there. So how do I add more layers? I also want to know things like land blocks. So if I go in here and I go, I know that TPK, I want to go, I wonder what else TPK's got in here. Probably just the marae, maybe. I think that's the only one I've seen in there. But here's the trick. I don't have to just use Living Atlas. I can use all of ArcGIS Online. So anything TPK have made public, I can use. So if I go in here, TPK, see what else they've got. Areas of interest by this fella, we'll skip him. Te Puni Kōkiri offices. Let's go Māori land court blocks, and this is a little bit of previous knowledge. There's that guy again, but I think that system is offline. Yeah, it's not going to work. Māori land block areas, and the catch is here when I've deviated away from the Living Atlas Here we go. Here's the one I was looking for. You've got to be cautious of where and who you're getting your data from. Not that most GIS people will not put out data that is intentionally incorrect, but they will put out data specifically for their project or clipped just to their project. So sometimes you got to, it does take a little bit of having a tutu and exploring. There was another marae on there, so let's have a look at Iwi. Oh, we're going to faraway place. Oh. Right. Put it in the database. I'll try this one, Iwi. There is a way to also get it to set up and search just on that marae data set. But what I want to show you here is just being able to take data from the Living Atlas, overlaying it with data from another source. Like, so I've got data from TPK, I've got data from Māori Land Court via TPK, I've got data here from LINS, I've got data from also LINS, the imagery, and I can overlay it. And also coming over here on the left hand side, I can go capture slide, and I can rename that, and I can go by Haraka. Oops. Haraka. So there's that slide, and I go, oh, actually, I wish I'd done it from this way instead, because I want to go to the next marae over here, Aotearoa. I go update, capture, and I go, oops, I captured the view in the wrong place then, so I'm just going to remove that one. I'm going to go here, and now I'm going to call this Aotearoa. And I go, oh, what about all these other blocks in between here? What are these? And so I go, okay, I need some property data on there. So I come over here, I come to Living Atlas, and I go property. And I know it's from LINS. So what you can do is you can also filter sometimes over here as well. As you scroll down here, you'll get the New Zealand data sets as well. So if I go here, see how this has come back with, I don't know how many data sets, but if I go New Zealand, now all of these ones, property, are Aotearoa based. So then I can go and add any ones I want. Property titles. There's a layer. That'll come in just a second. There we go. And now I can click on that, and I can get attributes about that. You know, if you've been to a few of our hui, you'll know that you can also access property ownership, but to do that, you have to go through a small process just to agree to the license, and you'll be able to add that in there as well. I'll add that link after this hui. So I've got that. I want Crown property. I want river name lines. I want river name polygons, and you'll see lots of blue lines coming here sometime soon. I think there we go. There's a little blue line there. Hopefully you can see it. Primary parcels, it's the same basically as property titles. We won't get into that detail. Oh, here's that census 2018 data. So that Roland mentioned, I can add that in there as well. And that's probably enough data sets for us for today. Let's say I wanted to know how many Māori live in this area. So I come over here and I go layers and I turn off everything except for the census. I'm just going to turn back on Marae, and I can see somebody, when they've created this layer, they've added, or they've attempted to make it faster by adjusting the view the parameters of what I can do here. So what I'm having to do is just change it to make it my own. Māori. I go 3D council. I'll just go for 2D council amounts. Ethnicity Māori. So in this case, the lighter it is, the more Māori. So I'm going to change this to something else different. Let's go this one. So here at the moment, I'm just going to see if I can flip it over. Can I flip it over the other way? Flip, flip, flip. There we go. So now the darker it is, the more Māori that are there. Now this is just based on pure count. So we can see here straight away for Northland and South Hokianga, we've got more Māori in this area, but it's not the same as density, because density is not yet, I haven't set my map up for that. So what I mean by density is how many Māori per square kilometre, for example. So all of this, I just noticed a wee question there about licensing. I'm going to hand back to Roland in just a minute. I'd like to trade 1 minute. And he will show us some interesting things about licensing. So if I go here, and if I come down here and I go, let's do some different ones. I need to go back to home. Kia ora. And I go here. So now I've got some bookmarks that I can click between. So if I was telling a story, wanted to show something, each time I click on these, I can turn layers on and off. So if I come down here and let's say in this case, I want to turn off deprivation, I want to turn on the awa. You'll see this, the awa here, you'll see this color coming in hopefully soon. Should do. Maybe it's not going to today. But I can make out some of the awa over the side here. I can also go and add lakes if I want to as well. Roto. See, I'm not sure why that's not coming up, but never mind, it usually does. I can also have a look at land blocks. So come down here to Waihi, and I can click on that, and it gives me a little information there. And now if I press save, and then I go share somewhere here, can't remember where I share it. Just try and share this if I can from here. I've got to go back to my account maybe. Oh no, here it is over here. In the wrong spot. Change sharing settings. So with the free account, or even with the paid personal account, which is the cheaper version, a quick demo. I can keep it private just to me, or I can make it public for everyone. That's the options I have as a person, because there's no one else in my organization to share it with, because I don't have an organization account. Whereas with the non-profit that Roland's going to show you in a moment, you might want to consider that we have more than one. So I've just set it to public and I go save. And then when I open it in here, grab that link and put it on the chat for you. Now you can see that viewer, and you may be able to log in over here with the, I just use my Google account. You might be able to go save as, gives you a running start, and then you can add your own data to it. So I'm going to hand back to you, Roland.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, that making bookmarks is really, really cool, especially when you look at some of the stuff you've just shown. And you can zoom to an overview, so sort of get a oblique look at a wider field of view. Don't have your parcels turned on because it's going to take forever from the draw. And then when you zoom right into a property level, actually turn your parcels on. But those bookmarks will save all the parameters of which layers are turned on and which layers aren't. So it's really, really cool. There's a really good question around from Timer about, are we able to download the data from Esri Living Atlas as shapefiles to use in projects? Yes, there is a way, but it will depend on whether or not the owner of that data has allowed it to people to take copies of it. The only advice I'd give around that is to not do it. If you can, use the authoritative source, because if it's constantly changing and things like big data sets from LINs where new subdivisions are taking place and properties happening, as soon as we download something, basically it's effectively out of date. So these data sets, and that's the joy about the Living Atlas and ArcGIS Online layers, is they're live. And if you're taking them from government organizations, grab the any update they're doing will be reflected through to the ArcGIS Online data. And so as soon as we download something, it gets a bit static. And that's fine if we know there's not going to be any changes in very small scale stuff, but just be mindful of that. Yes, you will need an Esri account usually to download layers, but it will always depend on whether or not people have made that shareable. And before we get into talking about licensing, if you have desktop licenses and you load that layer in, you will be able to export it out and save it as a shapefile. But the Living Atlas and ArcGIS Online at times will not let you save it. They'll let you view it for free, as we saw, without even signing in. But to download stuff, you'll need an Esri account. Now, on that, let's talk about Esri licensing. And we've had this discussion before, which was really funny because the time we had it, I wasn't working for Eagle Technology. So I now work for Eagle Technology and am the non-profit Indigenous and Conservation Account Manager for New Zealand, and loving my time doing it with Eagle. So I am the account manager for just about every non-profit account in New Zealand. There's a couple that I don't manage, quite simply due to just personal relationships, and it's easier for people to work with people they know. But I'm going to share my screen, and we'll talk a little bit about the Esri Non-Profit Organisation Program. And click share, and hopefully you can see that. So if you Google Esri Non-Profit, basically it will lead you to this page and you can apply. Please don't apply to that page for non-profit accounts, because that will actually direct you to someone in the USA, and they probably won't know much about little old New Zealand. But it does give a good overview around what's available when you apply for the non-profit organisation program. It's low cost to access to GIS tools. Esri is an organisation and is a very big company, are supportive of a lot of things, especially conservation or Indigenous communities. So their non-profit program has very significant discounts on some or all of the software packages that are available. So this is a good overview page. I'm going to chuck that into the chat, that link, so if you want to get to it, to give an idea about what's available within the non-profit program. So ArcGIS Online, ArcGIS Pro, and even ArcGIS Enterprise. So powerful on-premise cloud-based software, but working in your premise and your cloud and your environment. And even enterprise agreements are available through the non-profit program at heavily discounted rates compared to the commercial rates. So if you want to retain all your own data and work inside your own environment, but you have a larger organization, there's even enterprise agreements inside the non-profit program for you to take advantage of. But as I say, please don't apply to them because it'll send you to the USA. And really simply, a non-profit is, there's the Wikipedia version of what a non-profit entity is. I can explain to you right now that just about every hapu and iwi organization in this country is based on a charitable trust, which fits the non-profit definition. And the simple story is, please just drop me an email. I'm going to chuck my email in the chat as well. And let's have a talk around eligibility. I chucked my email in that document you're going to share with everybody as well, Dwayne, so that you can...
On the chat.
just get along to me very quickly, send me an email, and happy to discuss whether or not you're eligible for the non-profit program. There are times, and that's why I say don't apply to America, because they'll say, oh, it doesn't look like you're a non-profit. Come and talk to us at Eagle and we'll have a discussion and we can sort you out. The other thing that's available if you're not an organization and you are an individual is a personal use license. Now, at the moment, those are being purchased through the USA, and you can Google Esri personal use, and it is $100 US dollars, which I think is about $173 or $74 now in New Zealand. It's something crazy, the exchange rate. And that personal use license will give you access to, as an individual, to ArcGIS Pro, ArcGIS Online, and all of the tools that we're talking about. But if you are a hapu or a community group, and other community groups, non-profit groups include things like the Red Cross, New Zealand Cancer Society, various conservation groups, and I saw Richard was in the list here, but I can't see the list right now. So you know, there's other conservation groups. Is it 167.10?
Yeah, rounded up, probably 170.
Yeah, don't be surprised if it's a little bit more. Add a credit card fee. Yeah, so that's about the exchange rate, and that gives you access to all the tools for individuals. If you're a student, you're also eligible for the student license, which is the same price as the personal use license, but Esri just like defining that you are a student as opposed to just a hobbyist GIS person. Now, what's not shown on this website is, and all they're talking about software in that, New Zealand non-profits are eligible for a 50% discount on any instructor-led training. There is also a lot of online training that Esri offer through their virtual academy that non-profits are eligible for and are actually free to individuals as well. But if you are a non-profit registered entity through Eagle and through Eagle, if you want to go to instructor-led training in any of our instructor-led training courses, there is a 50% discount. I'm wondering what else. What else do we need to talk about, Dwayne?
Conference.
Oh, yes, conference. I'm still sharing my screen. Let's jump to this. The New Zealand Esri User Conference, hosted by us at Eagle. It's the largest GIS conference in Australasia. We're expecting just over 600 people this year. It is from the 25th to the 27th of September at the Cordis Hotel in Auckland. And this is only the second time. In last year, we reintroduced the Indigenous stream to the conference, and this year we're bringing it back. And I'm going to make the statement that while I'm working for Eagle, the Indigenous stream will stay inside this conference for as long as I'm there. What I'm really excited about to tell all of you guys is, and where are we? GIS for Indigenous communities. So if I go to, if you Google NZEUC 2023 and you can go to the day 3 detailed agenda, the Indigenous stream this year is running its location in the room Jade 3. We've got some great talks, but the bulk of the stream will actually be around, and we're being joined by the wonderful Jeff O'Malley, who's part of the panel on Māori geospatial capability and capacity. So that's going to be actually the bulk of the stream, probably take up half of it. I'll talk a little bit about the Living Atlas, and we're getting one of our technical support people in, the wonderful Jess Burrell, to talk about how credits use in ArcGIS Online. And if any of you have been using ArcGIS Online, you might have come across credits and not quite sure how they work. So we've got an audience there that will be hopefully predominantly Māori, and we can explain a bit more about how credits work and good practices to manage your credit usage and things. And of course, we're being joined by Moka Apache from Digital Navigators. And I know a lot of you know Moka, who's a friend of mine and Dwayne's and everybody's, who's talking about the evolution of Māori GIS and probably his journey through how we've been using GIS for a long time, and how it's changed and how some of these tools and all the stuff that Dwayne's just showed are right now at our fingertips and available to a lot more people than we used to be able to have them available to. So we're looking forward to a really enjoyable Indigenous stream. But the quick announcement is if you're interested in just that stream and not interested in the rest of the conference, because it is a full 3-day conference and it is very technology heavy, so you mightn't care about too much of the other stuff, we're offering now a chance to register to just attend that stream. Basically, it'll be a half-day registration, so it would kick off at 12 noon. You'd be eligible to come to the Indigenous stream for that session, have lunch, and then see the road ahead, which will be talking about where Esri's heading and things that are going to come, and also attend the farewell function of the conference. If you're interested in just purchasing a half-day ticket to attend the conference, please send me an email. Just send me an email, and I can arrange a link, a special link. We're not making it public. This is the first place it's actually been announced. So it's available to you guys first. If you want to take advantage of that, just flick me an email and say, yeah, I'm interested in just seeing that part of the conference. I'm not interested in the rest. But we are looking forward to a great conference. And if you get there early enough, if you're attending the whole day, there are 1-day registrations available. The conservation streams are a really good one to have a look at, because there's some really interesting projects in there as well. But all the details are here, the full agenda. 2.5 days. Well, basically, no, 3. I'll send the link.
Yeah, thanks.
I think I'll put it in there. No, I might have. I'll chuck it in the chat. But if you have any questions about it, if you want to know anything about the conference, again, drop me an email. Happy to have a chat about it. And I guess that's about me. That's non-profits. That's NZEUC.
It's us.
Back to you, bro.
All right, I'm just going.
Oh man, we're already over time.
Yeah, it goes fast, eh?
It's way
I'm just
fast.
going to reshare the link there, and I'll just put my email there too. If anybody has any queries, just message me.
All right, that's that Google Doc, the one that we just edited. So in that Google Doc that Dwayne's sharing is a link to the Living Atlas. There's a link to the conference. John Nelson, go and check him out. If you haven't checked him out, go and watch him on YouTube. The guy is amazing and makes some cool ass maps. And there's a link on how to actually promote your own stuff if you're an existing user into the Living Atlas. And then Dwayne's chucked in the non-profit program link. And my email's on there. This has been awesome.
And yeah, thanks, Ewa. So just for those of you who have been following us, we've also put a few of the more recent videos up on the YouTube site as well. If anyone has that handy, please feel free to put it on the chat, but also it floats around. If you just go on YouTube and search for Toitū Te Whenua or Ngā Poutamama Te Whenua, you'll soon find it. There's about 20 or so on there now. I've got one on the backlog from last month to do, and then I'll do this one at the same time. So, kia ora everybody, that's us for today. We'll just close with karakia. Karakia whakamutunga. Kua mutu a tātou hui mō tēnei wā, mana kitea mai I a mātou katoa, a mātou mahi, a mātou whānau, me a mātou hoki te kāinga. Amen. Kia ora. Thank you again, Roland. Have a great
nice, man. I might pop back more often if we get new stuff happening and that, and there's a bit of news, and I'll just flick you an email. I might jump into the odd session more often.
Competition.
Ooh.
We're going to have another competition this year. Jeff O'Malley has acquired Merika Karimi in bulk, significant amount in bulk. So we're going to have competition again.
I'll say it now then, Eagle Technology will find some Esri merch to put towards says prizes for the competition.
Awesome, bro. So we'll send out a pānui to everybody on our list about that competition. Yeah, it's like create a pepeha story map. Is how you can implement some of the materials that we share with you. So kia ora koutou, have a great weekend, and we'll see you in 1 month. Actually, next month, I think. Next month, we got Holden Hohaia. And from Manaki Whenua, we're going to be having a look at QGIS and his experience so far. So, kia ora whānau, have a great one, and we'll see you again next time. Ka kite.
Ka kite, people. Enjoy your weekend. Up the wires.
Aotearoa.